I didn't turn it on. I never turn it on.
You ready? We're good. We're live. Good evening, everyone. If we could start with a moment of silent prayer. Thank you. And for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Swager,
Here.
Mrs. Davis.
Here.
Mr. Benton,
Here.
Mrs. Boer,
Here.
Mrs. Thomas.
Here.
Reading of the notice.
Notice, this is a public meeting of the Board of Education for the purpose of conducting the school district's business. It is not to be considered a public community meeting. There's a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes. Upon request of the superintendent, the district shall make reasonable accommodation for a person with a disability to be able to participate in this activity. This meeting replaces a previously announced meeting, August 18th, 2025, Board of Education regular session meeting. A recording shall be made of each meeting of the board as administrative aid and shall be preserved as public documents of the board.
Thank you, Dr. Wagner. Any additions or deletions to the agenda?
We do not have any.
All right. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll motion. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Thomas,
Yes.
Mrs. Boer,
Yes.
Mr. Swager,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis.
Yes.
Mr. Benton.
Yes.
Any remarks by the public? Anyone sign in?
We do not have any.
No remarks? All right. Moving on to the building projects, Dr. Wagner.
Sure. So we have presenters here tonight from the VSWC Architects. And we have copies for the board, and then we're going to project slides so that anyone watching the video can be able to do it. And then for those of you on subcommittees, you've seen some of the storyboards as well too. But so we'll have the storyboards, you'll have a paper copy, and again, those watching will have at least these same pictures on the video. So
Thank you.
I want to introduce Eric and Lauren, and you're going to be doing most of the talking, right?
Yeah. Good evening. Thanks, everybody, for your time. We're glad to be here. I'm Eric Thompson. I'm the director of the Columbus office of VSWC Architects. I will also be the project architect for this project, so I will be hands-on as well as giving you this update. My colleague here, Lauren Cameron, is an interior designer and architect with our company, and so she's been helping out on the project and will be continuing to do so. So we're if we're ready, I can launch into the project update. Great. So we've been what we're showing you now is a snapshot on initial discussions. So we're giving you an update in process, so you're actually seeing boards with some of the comments that have been previously proposed and made by members of your group or leadership committees. I should say that the first one is finalized. This is for the sub-drainage at the baseball field, where our understanding in early discussions is there were critical issues of drainage. So we've developed a plan, a sub-drainage plan, to alleviate those moisture concerns and help keep that field dry and available for play. Basically, the system is a series of underground perforated pipes running approximately every 25 feet, with running out to systems along the perimeter that are then collected and distributed off-site. So the main outfield, we have lines of these drain pipes every 25 feet. We also have on the infield, we have, this is an alternate, but we have two legs covering the infield, and then it was decided in the last discussion to make the perimeter drainage along the infield also part of the base bid. and we also have included additional drain lines up here on the hillside, where our understanding is there's a lot of water flowing down this. So we're trying to catch those. That's likewise for the hillside over here. So those type of drains have an additional measure of open gravel on the top to allow the water to be caught and flowed through more naturally. The basic system is, as I said, it's a perforated pipe, and then that is encased within basically a casing of crushed gravel that allows the water to get in without dirt and silt fouling it up, and then filter fabric around the edges to protect that. So again, base bid is all of this outfield drainage and the perimeter, as well as this area here, right up along the backstop, and the additional drain here. So this is this project, because it is a critical issue, is actually I believe you are voting on.
Yeah, there's a resolution tonight for that, and the board, I know, has been, seen some of this, or there's been some subcommittee work also. So there's a resolution later tonight, and we're asking the board to just approve the subdrain right now. That's because of timing, and if the board approves that tonight, then Robertson can get out for bids, and then by the time they get everything secured, we could be starting this work in October, I believe, which is, right. The idea is to get the subdrainage in, and then try to get a little bit of growing season in, and then we'll come back in the spring. So before baseball starts, it would be a little bit of a fall and spring growing season with this. So that's the idea just with this. And then Eric, also you extended that from the last subcommittee work. You pulled that backstop back farther, yes. Right? So
yeah, there are also, I think we covered that actually on the next slide, because it's technically not part of the sub-drainage project. Okay. But yes, it does show up in here, and that is part of the plan. I'll go through those, I think, maybe even on the next. So any questions about?
Are there any questions about this? Because this part of the presentation is the only thing that requires board action. Again, it's timely because we don't have an alternate space to put baseball, so what we're trying to do is be least disruptive we can to the field and allow it to be available in the spring.
What's the timeline to get the supplies in?
To get
What's the timeline to get the supplies? The perforated pipe, the fabric? Is there anything here that would be potentially?
None of those are long lead.
None of those are for him.
Yes.
Sorry, Jerry.
We also have our the construction manager that has been working with the district, Jeremy from Robertson.
We've got timelines on everything, but the idea is that's why you need to get started in October. So that would be excavating and then also installing the new material.
Is the fabric like something that you can't? Is it a special order? Is it something that? Okay.
Jeremy, can you come up just so that we have it recorded? No, that's fine.
Fortunately for this part of the project, there's nothing that is anticipated to be a long lead item. These should be all readily available components. The fabric, the stone, and the piping are really critical pieces. Getting it all installed, getting it done properly, and then either A, getting grass to grow, or B, we are taking an alternate for some sod if it makes financial sense so that we can get a good growth. But we'll be back to you with those figures and get your direction on that. But that's probably our biggest limiting factor is the grass in one form or the other, whether we're trying to grow it or whether we're harvesting it, because there is a set sunset in the fall, in the winter for even harvesting sod. After it freezes, you're not harvesting it anymore. So that's our critical path.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions before we?
I have a question. I noticed here today that I didn't catch at our other committee meeting. I see the bleachers here, move bleachers behind home plate. Is that what we want to do?
That's in the next one, not part of this drainage.
I know you're right. I just wanted to ask the question in as much as I see it. You see it right here?
Right.
Well, are we going, if we put a drain here, do we want to are we still looking at bleachers over here? That's my question.
Well, it's the safest place for them.
It will affect this drain.
Yeah.
It's
So
the
I wanted to
safest.
have discussion on that set of bleachers.
It's the safest. You're behind the home plate. They have a higher fence there.
It's also
Are you covering that in the next slide?
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay, Ruth Ann, because
Sure.
this, the
Sure,
sub.
I just happened to see
sub-drainage-
it was in the
Yeah, yeah.
midst of a drain area.
Okay, so we're going to move on to, well, this one, let me see if I think we have one that shows the overall site a little bit better. This is the dugouts, and it does cover that, that information, but I think, did we have I thought,
The drainage one is the site.
okay. So maybe that one actually would be the better place, as long as we're clear to talk about the relocation issue, because we don't have an overall site plan. So just as long as we're clear that this is intended as part of a,
I didn't see it in our meeting, and I see it clearly now, and my question is it something we want to discuss before we put that drain there, which is what we are going to vote on?
right.
If you see that sub-drain coming through there, and I thought we better maybe decide if that's where you want the guest bleachers.
Well, those are the home bleachers.
Oh, those are the home bleachers.
It's the only
okay.
bleachers.
Yeah.
Well, then, we don't.
So,
I thought we had another set over here. No.
and
Only bleachers, and that's why, currently it sits next to the,
right here.
away dugout, and we were trying to slide it around a little bit. Derek, you brought it at the meeting, we're discussing that. Trying to slide it around and put it behind home plate so it's not as
Got it.
visitor friendly.
Got it.
And I would also say, this is diagrammatic and intended to give, the intent is not intended as the final location. We'll need, as we develop this project, we will be calibrating the relationship between the drainage, backstop, the bleachers.
Question.
Very good. All right. I will,
I'm going to ask Tim, because I'm not. Does this address our infilled as well, drainage? I know it says that it
The
does, but I
alternate
mean,
does.
the alternate
The
does.
alternate does the infield, but this catches almost all the water that causes the problem on the infield.
Right.
That's why we went with the outside drain.
Yes.
To catch it before it gets
Gets
there.
into there, right.
The alternate's to do the infield, which is ideal. The problem is we're concerned with doing the infield this late in the year.
Right.
Because it won't grow. We can do the outfield. We can live with an
Yes.
outfield that isn't perfect, but you'll lose teeth if you have an infield that isn't perfect.
I understand that.
So that's kind of why with that infield, I anticipate we may be coming back to that alternate after spring baseball next year. We would come back and probably want to do the infield, the extra
Something like
alternate.
that.
It just won't happen
Then we would
this
have
fall.
we would have a path to see if we can get it ready.
Right. And then we'd also see how well the outside's grabbing it, and if we have to make any adjustments.
Any adjustments
we'll
before
know.
we cover it?
Right.
Yeah.
and maybe this is obvious, but because it's an alternate that will be bid, we will have a hard cost that is associated with adding those in, so you have a sense of it, at least at the time of bid.
So
Right.
what happens if, I'm just thinking about my own property and when a drain gets clogged, they're putting in new things where they can put cameras down, so it's not like I don't have to dig up the entire length of the infield or the outfield. Will that have that here? Will we have that?
Talking about
Access.
clean outs, she's asking basically, do you have clean out spots
Thank
where you
you.
can go out and look
Yeah,
if we have problems?
I believe those are standard to be incorporated, and so yes, we would have some abilities to. There are certainly locations where you can get into the system and access to it for.
The entire,
Right. Now, how far those go, I've not. How far that is effective, I don't know offhand. So, ready? Shall we move forward? Okay. So then we wanted to zoom in, kind of to the dugouts and the backstop. It again in kind of the process and discussions, what we've come to is a new visitor dugout as part of the base bid. In recent discussions, we've kind of resized it a little shorter than we had shown before. We think that's adequate for this location. So other than that, it's a fairly simple dugout, chain link, top to bottom fence above the dugout view. We decided, the general direction is to include the home dugout as an alternate, so that that can be pursued or not. We will, some of the comments from the last time were to minimize the height and slope of the visitor dugout because of the view corridors looking over the top of that. The current one is very steep and very tall. So visitor dugout, home dugout, and then between is the backstop for the. So this will be a new appropriate grade backstop, poles, mesh on a masonry base, so durable and safe. We are, as we mentioned before, the bleachers, which are currently here, are being relocated, basically to be further away from the visitor dugout, give it a little bit more of a sense of its own identity. So the base bid work would be to replace and enlarge the visitor. So even at the reduced size, it's larger than the current. The replace home dugout is now an alternate, not part of the base bid. Replace the current 40-foot backstop with a 40-foot pole and net system with a new decorative masonry base. And then alternate is just the entire home dugout. And I think, again, it's one of the comments that we are also attempting to address is the desire to push the backstop further back to allow more gameplay. Right now, the current existing condition is fairly tight and on the smaller side for appropriate gameplay, so we're going to push this back as far as we can. So that's, as I mentioned on the earlier drawing, that's kind of all the pieces that are interacting that we'll need to calibrate as we go forward. So.
Any questions with this part of it? Again, the board's not voting on this, but just wanted to show you how the project's maturing based on input that we've received.
So are we down to 36 for the reduction?
That's correct.
For the visitor.
Yeah,
Yes.
for the visitor, okay.
Correct.
I'd say 30 to 35, yeah, that's good.
Okay. Any other questions on this board, or Sean?
Nope. I don't think so.
Okay, great. Then at the Plaza, at the current corner of the stadium, basically above and the baseball fields, we're proposing a new concessions building with a kind of associated plaza and walkways to kind of to make it an appropriate entry ensemble in that location. So we've got the concessions building here, which houses not only the concession stand itself, but group restrooms for the stadium, as well as 2 accessible restrooms on the end. I'll talk about those in just a moment. So again, brand new concessions building with service windows both out onto the plaza, the kind of entry plaza, which we're showing here, right in front of the gate. So there's one window there, and then there's another on the stadium side facing for access from the front. And really the only comment we had in the last discussion was to potentially add a opening or window so that people working in the concessions can watch the games because they have a good vantage point for it. So other than that, this building kind of ties into a fence and gate system similar to what you already have on the other side of the stadium. So we'll match that aesthetic. And then to provide access over to the other playing fields, we've got essentially a boardwalk. So that what we're trying to do there is be cost aware, and so we have a steep slope and hill over here. So this, we think, is an economical and reasonable way of having an attractive and circulation path that will work and perform for the function it's needed for. Where it makes sense to transition to a asphalt walkway, we switch back to that. So, and then I think really the only other comment that came up along the way was the idea, because this is such a good vantage point, people tend to set up chairs and visibility up on that hill. So we're including some what we call bump outs, where the boardwalk gets wider and there's kind of a little station. Also even good, if people are circulating past one another. So we thought that was a great suggestion that we've worked into the design. I will say we've one other comment. We are maintaining this existing, I think it's a storage or maintenance building. It has a garage door access that's maintained, so all that is still untouched.
You want to mention the gates, Eric?
Yeah, we have a pedestrian gate between these last two columns. That's the primary way from this side into the stadium. And the last thing I'll mention is, because there are kind of different functions and different needs depending on different times for these for the restrooms, we thought we could make a system with the gates where you can either close off one side and have it only accessible from the public side, or you can close it off from the public side so it's only accessible for the stadium, or you can open both and have it flow through. So it's a very functional arrangement for whatever the particular need is at the time.
For the board here on this, the idea is during baseball, you just open up those two restrooms at the end. You don't open the stadium up, so that gives them two actual restrooms, which we use a porta-john down there now. Mm-hmm. For football games, the band will actually have a concession that matches the other side, and we'll have better service and water and restrooms, and they'll have full restrooms over on that side for the full visitor side as well. And then for baseball, they can serve concessions out of the other side. I do like the idea on the window. The window that faces the plaza will become a ticketing window during football games. Yeah. So you can sell tickets and do concessions out the other side. So it gives us a place to get out if it's raining or inclement weather. And then during baseball, you just close those off and you serve out of that side as the concession window, and you have the roll-up window that we asked them to add. We just asked for a roll-up metal, just a standard roll-up. Yeah. Because to get volunteers to work these concessions, it'd be nice if they could actually see the game while they're working there. So that's the idea of adding the extra window there, so they could view while they're volunteering down there. So, and then this gives a walkway all the way to softball. So this gives softball access to restrooms and concession, gives lacrosse access to restrooms, it gives football a visitor side access to restrooms, it gives the band a concession, and it gives baseball a concession and restrooms. So it accomplishes quite a bit in one building.
The only thing I would ask, Tim, you go down there to watch baseball more than I do, but is that in the line, the new concession window that you're talking about, is that in the
perfect
foul line? Oh, it's perfect.
Oh, it's perfect.
Is it perfect to catch the ball?
Yes. Well, unless we get a big lefty hitting home runs up here, I think we'll be all right. That's pretty high up the hill.
Okay.
We currently have people that sit on that hillside and watch all the games. So they'll still be out in front of that concession, whether we have them there or not. But that's going to be a really nice view.
It's going to be a nice plaza area right there.
Yeah, that window would be right here, and here's the top of the baseball field. Yeah, you're like right looking straight down the main line.
You get a lefty up there, it'll be a nice view. If they hit one at you. But that's the idea of that walkway and doing a couple of bump outs. So they're going to sit up there.
Yeah.
So we're going to provide some space.
We found that with softball too.
Yeah.
After we did that they're still going to sit in the places they've always sat in. Yeah. That's just what they're comfortable with.
Too good of a view up there not to.
Right.
So that's the idea of the bump outs, to provide them some space.
Mm-hmm. So bring your glove when you volunteer.
That's right.
You got it.
Any other questions on this kind of entry plaza and concessions?
Bottom left there's three gates you can see, and those can be configured in different ways. So if we ever had, if we were hosting a baseball tournament or something, we can actually open those and they can come into the stadium, so we could expand restrooms there if you need to. So there's a lot of flexibility with this space. Tim covered
Right.
it, but I just, that we're really trying to think ahead with this. So.
I really like the flexibility with the gates to be able to move them around for different options. When we talked about it in the meeting, the athletics meeting, it was just in our head, and to see it drawn makes sense.
Yeah, we think it'll really work well and have a lot of functionality for almost every condition that you might need to address. So, Any other questions about the Plaza concession and the West concessions. Okay, let's keep moving on. So this is now moving to the North Campus. So as an overview, we're the main part of the project, or the biggest part of the project, is a new synthetic turf multi-use field along this western edge. And then kind of associated infrastructure with that, we have a small concessions building on this campus, as well as a press box, all kind of encompassed in one single building right here at the center, with some room for expansion of bleachers for future needs. Circulation paths across, and then provided kind of a good parking layout with a lot of capacity, 75 new spaces along here, and the ability to kind of circulate and turn around. So lots of functionality and easy access into the site. We do some of these other items you're seeing on here is we do, you're required to drain these properly. We would want to, make sure that that's covered. So most of that is handled underground under the synthetic turf field, but there's some detention requirements down in this area. So again, the base bid here was really for almost everything that I've talked about. For individual restrooms, the concessions room, the press box with the exterior stair, and the next page is to look at that building zoomed in. Supplemental practice lighting, which is mounted to the top of the concessions and press box building. And then we're providing pathways for future lighting, because we understand that there is a need there for better lighting. The only alternate as part of this part that we're proposing is, and we'll talk about this on the next slide, but we have 176 bleacher seats right now, but we are suggesting providing concrete pads so that those can be added to and expanded in the future. So, on this one, I think we didn't have any changes or comments coming out of the last meeting.
I think what's important here to highlight, I know it's been important to the board, is to have a size field that's adequate for soccer, right? Because at 220 feet, that's far bigger than anything else we have, and there's nowhere else to really fit that kind of width on our current campus or any of our current sites. So that's
right. Yeah,
that's exciting.
Yeah, this would give a lot of flexibility for.
And in order to put that in, because of that width, there's 4 poles on that, I'll say the left side of that map there, that would be in the path there. So they'll extract all that, there's a substation across the street. So what we talked about there is that'll be a future project, maybe something from a donation or something that we could, look for some partners in this. But we would want to look at some game day lighting, which is very expensive. Eric, you kind of covered this already, but we would have some practice lighting, and on the press box, you'd have a couple stanchions that'll come off of there that would give some lighting. It wouldn't be, like game day lighting, but and then you're going to stub electricity in all those corners as well too. On the
you're here,
field,
you're in here.
So that we'd be ready to tie it in if we had.
Right, you're not starting from zero.
Yeah. Same thing with the concrete for the bleachers there too, so we would have an expansion in there. This is exciting. I mean, you're going to have, concessions there, which I'm sure you'll show rendering of that, and then restrooms. We have in the same floor we got portable toilets now, and this would have restrooms as well too.
Parking.
And parking.
Parking. And there's some other options that can be studied if we needed to expand even more parking there.
Yeah.
So we can look at that, and then also press box. That sits on top of that. So that's a nice.
Yeah, we feel really good about this. So this will be a noticeable and dramatic improvement.
Yeah.
Where are the restrooms?
They're in this building. I'm going to show that building up close next.
She's ready.
And
I'm looking here, I'm like, they're saying restrooms, but
You're
I don't
always
see it in the
going
details.
Going ahead on the task.
This is
see it in the
big
details.
picture look, because you have to see all
So-
three of it to really kind of.
So just a question, we've talked about this and numerous, would there be games there? Would there just be a practice area? Things like that. So without lighting initially, we've already limited it.
Yeah.
That we would probably not be able to host a game there during certain times of the year, right?
And there's no scoreboard. I mean, there's another $500,000 to $1 million
I
if you want to
understand,
make it
yeah.
game ready. So that's the idea, is to get it started, certainly get us practice up through there for lacrosse, baseball, softball, and soccer. But if we want it game ready, there's a significant additional needs of lighting, and scoreboard would be the other two. But that's why we want to run the conduit. I think, yes, in
So
10,
basically
15, 20 years, we may
we're starting
need
to
up there.
prep
It's
for
prepping for that,
another, yes.
yeah.
This is really going to be a practice field. And then with putting the concessions in there, we actually get the plumbing, so then we can do the restrooms, which we desperately needed down there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And you'll see in this, we really minimize the size of the building, but
Yeah.
we have room for growth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a bare bones, it's getting the field up there with bare bones, but then having the ability to expand when we grow.
Yeah, if there are no other questions on this, I can turn to that building next.
Question about the
Sure.
swale. So there's a lot of water that's going to be coming off beyond where we have today, right? Because we're going to have the turf field and everything. So is that swale going to hold water, or is it going to?
He's got a little,
Pretty quick.
retention pond he's got to put in, he draws in that little
So that's going
circle.
to hold water then?
Yeah.
Yes.
Permanent then, you think?
Retention or detention?
Detention or retention?
His question.
Detention.
So is it
Detention.
detention,
It's
so it
detention.
should drain off fairly rapidly then? Is that,
Yes,
it's not going to be a pond, right? It's going to drain off?
that's correct.
Okay,
Yep. It's just for that runoff for, yeah.
yeah.
Large storms, it'll hold it, delay the disbursement of that into the
Yeah,
creek.
as long as it drains out, right? We don't want to, have cattails and stuff
Yeah.
next to the field.
Yep.
No, we're well aware of that. So, and a lot of that, there's a subsurface drainage system kind of as part of the turf field. So a lot of that is picked up, and that
Yeah, just when you see that it's existing swale that we're going to use, right? And then we're adding all the extra water.
right.
on the field. We just want to make sure that we're okay and everything drains out okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is developed in concert with our civil engineers, and we're, sort of starting to explore the regulations of the county. So, but this is our preliminary take on what we think would be needed. It's not a given that exactly the size or shape of that yet. That'll require some, more detailed calculations as we move the project forward. So,
Just a lot of drain area. When you look at the field. and
yes, it is.
looking right, all that stuff's got to go somewhere, right?
A lot of impervious.
Dirt is being taken away, right?
True. Any other questions about the overall site plan before I jump into that? That's the old one. So here's the so that concessions building and press box. Again, as Mr. Schwager said, is very straightforward. It serves its function, and not a whole lot beyond that. So it's on the lower level. We have the concessions area with, as was mentioned, some possibility of expansion. We have a decently sized storage area that could flex and accommodate future growth, and then 4 restrooms, 2 of which will be accessible. That's the for the number of bleachers seats that we're proposing. That is the number that we need. So that was a consideration in terms of the bleachers that we provided. We're providing just a standard pre-manufactured bleacher system, very simple and straightforward. Then on the upper level, a small press box with space for viewing the game, and a sort of outdoor open air stair just to get up to that space. So base bid would include all of that: the small concessions room, press box, some supplemental. Oh yeah, the supplemental practice lighting. So we had shown one in the last meeting. We discussed adding a second one to just do as much as we can with that practice lighting. We also we're providing some kind of screened protection, like fencing with potentially with graphics on it. So the thought was maybe this would be a great place to locate a logo or some sort of graphics, because it's kind of on the path to approaching the field, at least from Oregon Street. So, and the prefabricated bleachers would be part of that base bid work. The only alternate that we have would be the additional concrete on either side for future bleachers, if you choose to go that route.
The
Any
idea there is we built storage just for practice stuff, to throw your stuff while you're practicing up there, but we didn't build locker rooms because we're not making it game ready. You know, we're not gonna have a home locker room and away locker room like we would, if we were playing games up there. We need lights, we need a scoreboard, we need home locker rooms, away locker rooms, but the storage area can serve as a place where the kids can throw their stuff, and lock it up while they're out there. Provide some area, and just your nets, your goal, whatever, all the other sports equipment. It gives an area to store some of that, whoever's not practicing on there. To give them a little bit of room to put some stuff in.
So on the press box, you're leaving a lot of open area to climb and have people, when we're not there, get access, and that's not a great area to, we don't have a lot of eyes down there in that particular area. I think that leaves us.
Yeah, we will have the
open.
camera system down there as part of this as well, our security cameras.
I know, but it's after the fact. They've already climbed on the roof. They've already climbed from the ground up.
Are
Things
you
like that.
suggesting an electric fence?
Well, on this one, I think normally
today they're
we could
walking
gate it.
inside the
You can
infields
gate
down
it.
there with their dogs
Yeah.
and think that that's their own fenced-in
I
yard.
know, that's true.
We
So
may want to gate where the steps are to make
Yeah.
it,
it's not even just
That's true.
kids. That's adults.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point, and something we should think about and consider.
Gate it across the steps so you can't.
Like we have over here at the stadium, we have that
That's a good
gated. It's a
point.
metal gate.
Yep. That's a good question.
That would be fine. We did the system as it's an open air steel stair and screening system, so it's all very durable. But you're right that if it's unfenced, then somebody could come up to this landing, even if that's not open, and do whatever they do up there.
When you observed, you've seen this model
Yes.
before. Did it have?
They're open air. They're just,
open
no,
air.
they don't, but
They don't.
I
Okay.
don't know that they have the same, we're in more of the neighborhood setting than they are.
Well, we've had them climb up to the stadium
Yeah.
here already.
Yep.
So, and we have a lot of people and lots of cameras. Everybody knows it. So it's concerning.
Great point. Thank you for that comment. Any other questions on the concessions and press box building? All right. And the last element we wanted to show is pretty straightforward, is the turf field itself. So again, this is a engineered synthetic turf, new from the subsoil up. As Dr. Wagner mentioned earlier, 220 feet by 330 feet, so able to accommodate both any type of play and sort of regulation level play for any of the games. Multi-use synthetic turf field will provide markings, as we've talked about, for soccer, lacrosse, softball, and baseball, and then we'd have the school system logo at the center of it. So again, great improvement and able to be used as a functional practice field for a lot of different conditions. The only alternate for this one would be additional turf for the team areas along the side. So that's what we'd include as an alternate. The rest of it is part of the base, would be part of the basic project. Any questions about the synthetic turf field area?
I don't think we have any.
Great. Well, if there's nothing else, we really appreciate your time. Thank you for. We're glad to be working with the district, and we're thrilled to be here and looking forward to these projects moving forward and getting rolling.
So what we'll do, and I'll talk to some of the board members after the meeting, because I have some scheduling, we're trying to get some subcommittees in, but we'll follow up and talk about next steps. The main thing tonight, again, is just that sub-drainage, and then the rest of this we need to
Yeah.
put some more time into, but we'll work on some meetings and getting all this organized for people.
Great, thank you.
Scheduled
you.
organized, I should say.
I think just for the public's knowledge on the whole discussion about turf on the North Campus goes back to the grass and sod, and it was I think we got an estimate of about $250,000 to do sod up there. And then having spoken to the other schools that have grass, they can't practice on it. You only play your varsity home games on it. Like, there's such limitations to having grass to keep it alive that essentially we were told you can't have grass up there if you want to have baseball, lacrosse, soccer, and actually practice on it. So our options are either do turf or not have it on the North Campus because it'll be a dirt field. We went to Westland High School just about 3 weeks ago for a soccer game, and I talked to their AD out there about theirs, and he said they only play games on it, no practice. They practice on their football field, and then go over and play their games on the grass. And it just seems kind of counterintuitive to me to have a field that you only play games on, but you never practice on. And Jeremy, you know it from your school district. They only play games on it, and they play about 20 games a year on that field, and you got to mow it, maintain it, weed it, doing all that expense, and you're only playing on it, never getting to practice on it.
And after a week of little rain, it's already looking brown.
Yeah,
Yeah,
As much rain as we've had,
right.
yeah.
1 week a little drier. Our AD was out stomping the divots last night.
And I just talked, Licking Heights just moved theirs to turf. They went away from their grass field to a turf field over there because of, it's the maintenance. I mean, it essentially, you can't keep grass alive in Ohio and keep that much, despite what my yard says.
I know.
And keep that much activity on it, and that's really what's driving that. So I just want to make sure everyone understood why we were looking at turfing the field up there. It's about hours on the surface that we're looking at.
Yeah. So we'll be back in contact with you about subcommittee. Next subcommittee work, okay? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Eric and Lauren, I have something else to do tonight. I'm sure you have other commitments. You don't have to stay for the entire board meeting.
You're always welcome to stay, but yes.
Oh, and Jeremy too, I should say.
Oh, he knows.
Thank you, yeah.
Thank you. Jeremy, he didn't say you.
Jeremy stuff.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You ready for next item, Mr. Schwarzer?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to review quickly, and I think the board's seen this already, and thank you again for convocation. We'll talk about that a little bit later, and I know we went through this, but just wanted to talk about some of the things that we did as a school district last year. I started doing this years ago, and I just think, sometimes when you're in those modes of continuous improvement, we don't stop and look at everything we're doing, and it's good to acknowledge. So I'm just going to zip through these quickly, and let me know if there's questions. But in the first section there, exactly the way we have our board objectives, because some of them, cross over in different areas. But in terms of partnerships and all, we've talked quite a bit about the multi-skilled technician, electrical trades. Obviously, that went, very well last year. It looks to be on a good footing for this year. With the building addition, we have an expanded, more room in the building, and we actually have the related room now across the hall for both programs, so they no longer have to be in their current space, and we can put more equipment in, electrical trays. They actually have lockers in there now for their equipment, and they look like work lockers, which is nice. So we won't have as much instruction, if any, in there, and they'll be able to go across the hall, and they're going to share the same space, multi-skilled technician. And then, we have the new health sciences pathway. I'm trying to get out of I called it STNA, State Tested Nursing Assistant, for years, but I guess the new language is Certified Nursing Assistant, but we'll get that in our minds there. But really excited about that, and we've talked about that program as well. But students will walk out this year, if they're successful, meeting all the objectives, with minimally that Certified Nursing Assistant endorsement. And this also, this partnership, third leg, if you will, with CTEC, will allow us to build the health sciences pathway into more of a biomedical in the future as well. Continue the partnership with Intel. We did that earlier in the year. We had the Name the Crane event. Worked with, I'm just hitting some of these highlights, worked with boosters, and certainly the athletic boosters this last year. I was just talking to Mr. Shifton, and he had reminded me he's on the way to the athletic boosters meeting. But we have a really good partnership, and I think that I'm excited about the future of the boosters and the direction they're headed. Their next big, I guess, deliverable will be by updated bylaws here soon. So, and then we want to get those from the board, so the board's aware. We talked about auditing, making sure that all the financials are in good shape with all of our booster organizations, so that'll be a part of that. Administration and staffing, next section, we have new athletic director who's at that booster meeting. We did some restructuring with buildings, grounds, and maintenance, and that's gone really well so far. I certainly miss Dave Jenny, but that's gone very well. So far, we've been very impressed with ABM as our new custodial services. Buildings are in good shape, and I think that we had a very short runway on that. So we had a lot of work to do because they just started on July 1st and had to onboard all their staff and then also get the buildings clean. So we're in a good spot there. We continue to focus on branding. I think there's some things that we should look at in terms of next step. Mr. Swagger and I were talking about maybe it's time for some of the gymnasiums too, that we can put a little bit more of our branding out there. We did put the new logo when we had the middle school flooring, gym floor, and I think that looks outstanding if you've seen that. Construction facilities, a lot of, we just got through some of that, so you saw some of that tonight. But also the 6th classroom addition is open. We met with our team today. There's a little bit of a punch list on that we'll knock out, but in good shape. Nothing really major that we can't handle. So, and then we're obviously working on the rest of our projects. We had our construction team actually in the back of this building today, looking at the wrestling and cheerleading and baseball, softball areas as well too. So we're getting that organized. We're trying, and we'll see with permitting and all, and we think we can hopefully meet a timeline. But we're trying to get that wrestling, cheerleading area ready by early November, which should coincide with the start of the season. Now we'll see how we land on that. There's some work to do with plumbing and some other things, but certainly that's exciting. And that all becomes possible because now we own this building, and then we have our other projects we're working on too. So I'm excited about those. And as I said at the end of the meeting, I wouldn't mind grabbing a couple of you and just looking at schedules so we can get some of our subcommittee meetings organized, because we have a few things to tackle there. Did a lot in the area of curriculum instruction. Continue to do a lot in the area curriculum instruction, teaching and learning. You know about some of the adoptions. We implemented our science curriculum. We adopted a 6 through 12 ELA curriculum, English Language Arts, and that's launched now. And then we'll be studying social studies for the future. And a lot of analysis on just student data and performance. I will tell you, I've seen some of the preliminary in the report cards. Probably going to look similar as it did last year. We don't have all of the finalized data because there's like third grade testing that was for some of the students, and we run some interventions at the intermediate school. So some of those student data, some of that data is not in yet. But the report card probably will look similar as it did in past years, but we should start to really escalate. The thing that we're waiting for with the state is they have the value added or the growth component. We have no metric on that. That's a proprietary system, or formula. So every school district doesn't see that, but our performance data looks good. One of the things we want to talk about, and I'll grab a couple of you, is on getting a curriculum committee meeting organized. I can tell you in preview, and this won't get any. This will only get better when we see the growth data. But math across the district, significant improvements. In fact, it jumped ahead of English Language Arts in a few areas, so we've got some catch up to do, and there's some things to do there anyways, but math is just by far K to 12, so.
Well, I think, we concentrated on math. We hired the coach. I mean, we've done a lot of investment as a district to work on those, so I think we're seeing the fruits of that work, so.
Yeah, and I tell people, like, there's some things, like, we can marshal a team and, leave here in May with the facade being taken off the building and come back in August and there's a 6th classroom addition, those things. But this is like trying to steer a big ship here, this doesn't change overnight. And when you're trying to go through the study of adopting curriculum, then you have to train people, and then there's assessment measures, and then administrators, every administrator we have, it's always foundational that we have strong instructional leadership, and Mrs. Wagner, both Mrs. Wagners actually, are strong in that as well too, and we make sure that all the principals are, because that, I can find a lot of managers for the buildings, but we need strong instructional leadership, and all of our principals demonstrate that, and Mrs. Wagner and pupil services, so we're happy about that. So you'll have more, when we have more available, again, we're just seeing draft. The window will open up on the state report card, I think it's later this week, and it's open until about the middle of September, so we'll probably see some final data after about the middle of September, probably late, third to fourth week in September, state will start publishing. But again, I think we're going to be similar to where we were in past years. Obviously, we talked a little bit about the PTO and some of the partnership there. We're very proud of that partnership and really that community, parent-teacher support that we have now, and that's one of our support organizations. As I said yesterday, that's been an initiative from the board about trying to open these schools up again and get more interaction. And when you saw the video convocation, you see some nice hugs there, and Grandparents' Day, and Veterans Day is in there, and our STEAM activities, and Purple Star, now that we have all 4 schools designated as Purple Star schools, we're certainly happy about that. You heard me talk yesterday a lot about safety and security. Some things we don't publish because we have to keep our planning to ourselves, but there are things that we do we can talk about, and from busing to to the buildings, there's been a lot of enhancements there, video surveillance. Talked a little bit yesterday about the vape sensors. Mr. Busenberg's led a lot of that initiative. 21 vape sensors, I believe, at the high school and 8 at the middle school, and we'll really evaluate that this year. We have gone into this from the standpoint of thinking about how we help students with good decision making, and this is not something that's just punitive. We know we're going to find some students who are not in compliance, but we're talking about interventions and the way we can provide supports. And so that's a big part of this focus too. Board had directed, and we certainly spent some time with AEDs. So we looked at all of our AEDs. Those are all updated. We have more available in the environment. I think we've very well covered things. And then as we open up new facilities, we'll be looking at that as well too. Like we talked about the North Campus and some of these things we'll be doing. We'll add to that. And then last, I guess I'll just end with the supplies and general course fees, the general fees that have been suspended, second year. That's gone very well received. And this year, because it's our second year, I've heard really good things. And, not only are we helping support families and budgets and all, but it also creates a standardization. So, but we certainly appreciate the board doing that, and as you requested, we'll monitor that this year, and Mrs. Drummy did a lot with the analysis of that. But I think that's a high-level overview. Like I said, a lot to celebrate there, and just wanted to go through things. Anything I missed or?
No, I just want to really thank the board members that sit up here. I don't think people always realize what it takes to get this accomplished. This is a lot, working with the administration on all these committees, and we're fortunate that I've got 4 board members up here to spend an awful lot of time going to all these curriculum meetings. To move this much forward every year, this is what it takes. So we're fortunate that we have board members that have the time and dedication to going to all those meetings, to getting the curriculum, to getting the athletics, doing all of this, and doing it fiscally responsibly. I think everyone that knows us, we're a very conservative board, to say the least, and we are able to add all of this without going back to the taxpayer for additional dollars. As long as the state funding remains solid, I believe we can continue to do these things, and that is the goal of this board, is to remain fiscally conservative and push all these new initiatives, new curriculum, new buildings, new all of that, without going back and asking for additional dollars. So I do appreciate the time that the other board members put in, because it's a lot of hours that goes unseen, but this doesn't get done without the trust of the board as well, because I know when you know, Ann is at a meeting and comes out of curriculum and makes a recommendation, that I trust Ann's judgment, that she's done the thing, she's done her due diligence, that I'm comfortable with those recommendations. I don't have to focus every area of the board. So, and I know we all share that with all five of us, that we can trust each other enough that everyone's doing this, and we have 2 board members on each of those committees, and that's what makes this move much faster than it has, is the fact that we're confident in each other. So I do appreciate the fact that we're able to move those through those committees and get those, I mean, policies, as you guys know. I'm not a policy, like, to sit down and read a lot of policy is not my idea of a lot of fun. So I appreciate the work you guys do on policy, because that's something that is extremely important to the district, and we need someone focused on it. So the fact that we've got 5 people with 5 different skill sets up here that allow us to find those areas and concentrate and succeed is tremendous. And obviously, without Dr. Wagner and Felicia guiding us there, none of this is possible. So I do appreciate the work that everyone puts in.
Well, thank you. And if anyone asks, I can talk about it in your hours. I get to see it. And all of you are very good at due diligence. I can certainly attest to that. No problems there. Really, really good at due diligence. So that's okay, though. I don't worry. You know, I've said to the administrators, and I mean this seriously, and, you know, I have a little bit of gray hair, so I can look backwards now and say this was something, some experience, like I said. If you took our weekly reports and looked at those, I mean, I don't think there are a lot of the school districts that can achieve that much in the time frame that we are, and do it well. They might be doing that per month, or, you know, every couple months, but what is being achieved, and that really is our teamwork, and we appreciate that. And, you know, I was talking about the principals and all the administrative team and support, you know,
Our
this.
committees.
Yeah, I
all
mean,
of our-
everybody's, you know, helping with
We
this.
ask a lot of questions in
there's
the
a-
committee meetings, and they
Yeah, that's why I said,
show us.
I can acknowledge the due diligence, yeah, a lot of questions.
They whip
But no,
out their laptops and show us exactly what
that
they're
is right.
seeing. I mean, you know,
That is right.
it
But
makes a
no,
lot of sense.
we really, really appreciate, because this really is a partnership, and we know we're all focused on doing what we can best for children. And, you know, we talked yesterday about Intel, and, you know, that's the catalyst, but there's a lot else, there's a lot other businesses coming in, and we know that we've got to get this foundation solid and really project the next 10, 20, 30 years. So, I didn't mean to steal your thunder, but I just wanted to add to
No,
it there a little bit,
yeah,
because it's,
excellent.
yeah. So that's all I have for updates, unless the board has any questions.
I do not. Anyone? All right. On to board committees.
Yeah, like I said, we'll talk about, afterwards, I'll grab a couple, because we need to get some committees in, like, we want to get policy, curriculum, we need finance and buildings, grounds, and safety. Like, in buildings, grounds, and safety, I'll need a couple hours, because we want to do some building walkthrough as well, too, and all, but I'll catch you afterwards. So we don't have any immediate updates for athletics, extracurricular. We don't have anything for buildings, grounds, and safety. Curriculum, that'll be forthcoming, but we did have finance, and that was Alan and Ruth Ann were there on July 24th.
Okay, so we met, and the committee is Ruth Ann, myself, and Dr. Wagner and Ms. Drumney. So what we did was we took a look at, we're really trying to understand our athletic spend in more detail than what we've had in the past. So we've taken a look at trying to get data by sport, and then also look at the participation level at each sport, so we can kind of understand what we're spending per student that's participating in that particular sport. We're also looking at our revenue side, what we would project. And with sports, a lot of times we come up a little bit short every year, where we have to contribute more money into the fund the sports to make everything whole. And we want to get a better handle on that, so that we really understand, so that at the end of the year, we don't have to keep contributing the money. We want to make sure that we fund everything appropriately, so that we don't have a shortfall at the end, where we have to make every year we have to make a motion with the board to go ahead and approve some funds to clean up the accounts. The other thing that we took a look at is, and they've talked a lot tonight about the capital projects. So we have 2 types of capital projects. Ones that have been approved by the board, which was the ones that we talked about, the school addition. We have this building here, we have the multi-purpose building. So we took a look at, we have budgets for all these projects that we've approved. And then we monitor our spend and where the money's going out for each one of the projects and where we are based on, we have a projected cost of everything, and then we have actually what costs come in at, final cost. So we took a look at the projects that we looked at, and we're in good shape. As Tim has alluded to, the fact that, as a board, we try to really watch our money. We really try to watch our spend, and all these projects that we're talking about, although that there's a lot of them going on, we do have the funding within the school district to be able to fund these without reaching out to the community for additional funding. So, and then we have proposed budgets for the different projects that the board hasn't approved. So as we hone in on these projects and we develop them further, we'll put together a budgetary, I don't know what you want to call it, budgetary proposal for each one of the projects. And then once the board approves it, then we'll monitor the spend against those funds that we've committed for those projects. So again, that's one of the things we looked at. The other thing when we look at the state level, one thing that they came out with is they came up with an idea to have an administrative cost limitation. So the state is always looking at improving the lives or the financial lives of the school districts, right, Felicia? So we have to be aware of what the state is mandating and make the adjustments appropriately. The limitations, they have an idea of what they want to do, but right now there was some discussion as to what actually falls within those limitations, what categories or what kind of staffing would fall into the limitations that they're proposing. So it's something that we're keeping an eye on and something that we'll adjust to once we fully understand what we need to meet. And then the last thing that we looked at is we had the fiscal end of the year, so we had to clean up the accounts and make sure that everything's moved around. The problem that you have with the school district is funding is not like you get a paycheck every 2 weeks. So funding comes in and is not a constant flow. So at times we'll get a lot of funding and at times we won't get funding. So we have to move things around because our expenses are, weekly or daily, and but yet our funding may not be along those lines. So we move some funding around in different accounts. And school's a little bit different than maybe your home. Your home, you may have one checkbook and you pay everything out of that one checkbook. But school, what we do is we have different accounts. So they're kind of like silos. So those silos, sometimes we have to adjust them and move the money around to make sure that we can continue to pay our bills. So those are the items that we looked at in the Finance Committee. And again, I want to thank the entire board, as Tim has alluded to earlier, that, there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of projects going on. There's a lot of money that's moving around. And we are, as a board, we're very conscious of spending the money, the taxpayers' money, and we try to make it go as far as we possibly can. So we appreciate everybody's support in doing that.
And I think this, to point out the alternate bids tonight, we want all of those. But we'll get the bids back, we'll see what money's available, and we'll make those tough decisions when we have to, because if we can't afford it, we may have the money, but then it's going to take it away from another initiative, and we have to weigh those together. Is this alternate worth that additional dollars if it's beyond what we had proposed in our budget? So that's where Alan and Ruth Ann lead on the finance side, is, okay, how much flexibility do we have on these types of things? And they get back with the board and share that information, obviously, through Felicia. So I do appreciate that work as well.
I'll just mention one other silo, and he did an absolutely stellar job of recapping what we did in finance.
That was a good.
One other thing that we always keep our eye on are the state mandates and how the legislation affects how we serve dinner. So it's not unusual for the state to introduce a program, make it mandate a program, let the school district enjoy it for about 2 years, and they enjoy funding it for us. And then about the third year, they say, by the way, we're not going to give you funding for that wonderful program that you're enjoying. So now you've got to figure out a way to pay for it yourself. So those are the concerns we always have as a board and as a finance committee. What have we been doing? Is it mandate that we want to continue? Do we have to give it up? Those have been many over the years, so I think that's another place we have to always keep one, one hand on to be sure that, that we're ready for those mandates. But well done, Alan.
Thanks, Ruth Ann. If I leave anything out, you just
I'll
make sure
catch
you
it. I'll catch it.
catch it, right? Yeah, there's a lot going on. The challenge that we have in the school district is that we are moving very fast. You know, it's amazing, because Ruth Ann and I and Tim, we've been here for many, many years, right? And it's amazing how quickly we're moving and the changes that are occurring within this school district. It's absolutely amazing. We've talked about it as entire board, Ann and Amanda has talked about it. It's just amazing, all the things that we're doing and accomplishing, because we work together as a team.
Moving on to insurance.
Yep, insurance. We have insurance next month, but if I could, I'd give you a little follow-up from our last insurance meeting. We had, obviously, convocation yesterday, and then we scheduled the time block for about a half an hour to talk about healthcare and ways that we can manage that healthcare. And we invited all the staff, and I did a rough head count. There was at least 89 people in the room, not including presenters. I thought that was impressive. We have about 119 people taking the plan, and some of the people in the room had one spouse, not the other, so I even kind of give that a little bit more weight. We were in there for 40, 45 minutes. I mean, we went well beyond a half an hour. Very engaged with the staff. I thought it went very well. The insurance consultants did a nice job. We talked about loss ratios, sustainability, spent a lot of time talking about the HSA, how that's trending and much better than the current PPO plan. And really, the overall message was be part of a solution, because the current path we're on is not sustainable. And again, not a easy message, but I was very impressed with the staff and engagement, and more follow-up to come. So, you know, we'll have that meeting, we'll have our committee meeting that includes staff on September 4th. But I'll tell you, boy, did you feel like that too? We didn't really talk about it, but.
Yeah, absolutely. The staff, you know, I looked around as they were talking, and they were watching, and they had great relevant questions that I think probably more than one had, so it was helpful. And I think they're eager for the next meeting to continue to learn more.
We're going to be focusing on financial literacy in general. They announced the Felicia with Fridays. Is that what we're calling it?
Financial Fridays
Financial
with
Fridays
Felicia.
with Felicia. That's what it
Oh,
is.
I love it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
A lot of
So you're
abstinence.
official now.
Yes,
It's official.
they announced
During
that.
Lent, it'll be Fish Fry Friday.
You know, Catholic, I want.
Right.
That came directly from the teachers.
Okay.
That was definitely a
Suggestion.
suggestion from the teachers, so.
It really was well received, so I'll try to be your assistant
Yes.
at times, but we'll
We're gonna have to
we'll
get
go
her a
and-
t-shirt.
I know, hey, we're starting a club.
Banner, everything.
Starting a club. But really well received, because we want to talk about more than healthcare, but eventually this is our top priority, but then really looking at, like, you know, should you look at retirement options and some different things, so.
Excellent.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to hijack all that, but that's a lot of work for our committee, and then when Ruth Ann and Ann are there as board representatives on September 4th, you'll hear a lot about this and the direction, so I was very encouraged. And then, Mr. Swagger, you have an update, right, from our strategic planning?
Yeah, well, you
instruction?
guys saw most of our update tonight, because it was the comments that our consultant just showed you. Ruth Ann and I had met with the consultant, with Dr. Wagner, Mr. Busenberg. Was it?
Yes.
I think it was us
Yeah.
four. Met with them, went over this. We pared down the original drawings and plans to what you were presented to tonight. Made some of those alternates. That's where those conversations occurred in that committee meeting, to try to narrow that down, skinny it down. Ruth Ann and I continue to work on some economic development. We've got a great partnership right now with the city council and with the Monroe Township trustees, just working on economic development as part of those strategic planning, and just coming to some agreements there of where we're at. It did, on a separate note, lead to the Greater Johnstown Parks District. Might as well mention that now.
Yeah, I have at the end of the agenda, but go ahead.
Yeah,
You
so,
might as well.
the Monroe Township trustees passed a ordinance Monday night to become a member of the Greater Johnstown Parks District. So now the process will be, we kick that to the Greater Johnstown Parks District, who make the recommendation, and then it'll come back to us in the city. So it just builds that trust even stronger and that partnership stronger, to where the city, the schools, and Monroe Township trustees are all working together to make sure that we're all on the same vision of what this community is and will become. And those types of agreements that we're working on development and on the Parks District help lead us there. So I do know that, both Troy and Scott Hendren and Joey Robertson were more than happy to be part of that, and they're excited about the increased relationship with us and the city council members.
Yeah.
So I think you guys know we've been meeting and talking with them pretty regularly. There's a lot moving on all sides of development here, so they're very much including the schools in all of those conversations, and it's really front of mind for them on what they're discussing. So we greatly appreciate the council and the township for keeping the schools as a very important part of those discussions, and realizing that their decisions directly impact us. So I do want to mention those guys, that relationship continues to grow, and Ruth Ann and I are fostering that through those meetings.
I think we also need to keep our eye on what President Trump and the president of Intel, the CEO of Intel, met this past week. And certainly we don't know what those conversations were, but it had to do with funding and the survivalship of Intel in many ways that we know. The school stays poised to accommodate whatever happens to us. If it means more housing and more students and an influx of things that we hadn't counted on, we've been doing our homework. So I don't think there'll be any surprises, but it may shock us what we have to do in such a short period of time. But we also have our committees, so that makes us ready to address all those issues. So I'm anxious to hear what actually is going to happen with Intel and their funding. That's going to make a big difference on that finish line.
Good with your report?
Yep.
Okay. And then we had the local professional development committee meeting, and they held their meeting on August 5th. Those in attendance: Stephanie Stuckey, Laura Kurtz, Renee Britton, Annette Price, Derek Busenberg, and Brad Werman. They approved one teacher's individual professional development plan. They also approved some additional contact hours for students. That's for professional development. And then they have some exit work that for reports anyone who is retires or is no longer with the district. You have to help put closure on their plan when they left the district. And then they talked about at their committee about how they're getting a new digital platform for the local professional development committee. They updated their information sheet, and then they elected their officers. Two of the officers were up this year, so we had Stephanie Stuckey, who's remaining as president, and Renee Britton as secretary. They talked about their calendar, and that's outlined. And then their next, I won't read all the dates because we have those available, but the next meeting of the local professional development committee will be on September 16th. And that's all I have to report from that committee.
Excellent. Moving on to consent agenda.
Resolution 25-08-179 is approval of consent agenda.
Can we get a motion?
I'll second.
Ruth Ann
We were
moved and
Both
Ann
ready
seconded.
to chime in and say the same thing.
I'm going to go through a couple of these
Please
real quick.
do.
I'll just high level. We have some resignations there, just a few. Next is salary degree changes. We have staff, teaching staff can move vertically on the pay scale, but there's also horizontal option. They meet the standard for additional education, and we have two people there who have met that standard. We're asking that to approve. Christy Lovell's on here. You hadn't seen her. She wasn't at convocation, but she'll be a new paraprofessional at Johnstown Elementary School. So, we have some volunteers. We always appreciate all those names are listed there. We actually have one board meeting in July, so that's good. July 10th, you have your monthly minutes there to review and approve. And then we have our monthly finance report, or financial report from Felicia.
Any questions, comments on the consent agenda items?
I think it would be nice if we could see, as we approve the different volunteers in different areas, to see what has been accomplished in those areas. What are we adding to the benefits of our school?
Okay.
So, we've never seen a report on that. It'd be nice to know how they're doing.
Do we do any type of end of year, like, thank you for them? And like at other schools I've been to, that they did something like they actually broke it up because it's too large at the end of the year and so many different activities. But say like in November, they would do a little cookies and lemonade, and it's a thank you. And at the end of the year, they do another one for the second. I just think it would be nice to thank our volunteers, because they are taking time out of their day, out of their schedules, and we couldn't do it without them.
I know the buildings do some thank yous and all too, but let me get you, we'll get more comprehensive information. And you know, the other thing, and this has been an initiative by the board, certainly is increased exponentially, is getting so many more volunteers in the schools. So it really is the right time to look at our processes. So we'll do that. We'll get with the buildings and show you. We have tracking and we know who's volunteering and what they're doing. But as Ruth Ann asked about what initiatives are being accomplished, so we'll get that for you.
Well, and she led one of the largest volunteer organizations at St. Anne's when it was St. Anne's, so she's probably got some ideas on that too.
Yeah.
Checkbook.
That's right. She's already done something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely follow up on get updates to the board on that.
Any other questions, comments on the consent? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Boer,
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Swager,
Yes.
Mr. Benton,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis.
Yes.
Over to the treasurer's recommendations.
There is one recommendation. Excuse me, my computer is acting up.
Sometimes we use an online system, so it lags sometimes a little bit. So that's why she's always keeping the notes and has to do that live while we're holding the meeting.
Okay.
Musical
Thank you for
talents.
waiting.
Musical talents are
Yeah,
accepted.
I just want people to know, like she's not sending emails or anything like that time, you know.
Multitasking.
Yes, yes.
She's right. One recommendation, Resolution 2508-180 for the transfer of funds, requesting the approval of these. This is, I'll wait for a motion.
If I can get a motion.
I'll motion.
Second?
And a second.
Okay.
Just the annual transfer from class to class.
It is, yes, exactly. And I guess I would like to share as well with this amount, the fundraiser, the candy sale, was not quite as profitable as in years past. We switched products and companies, so the profits are down about $5,000 for last year. So we probably will be looking for some donations.
And
Is
is
that
that
for
mainly for
the-
the eighth grade DC trip? Or?
Right.
Is that for the
Okay.
DC trip?
Right.
Will they be able to have another fundraiser before, I mean, or they're just looking for donations?
We'll talk about that, Mr. Hank. There's probably, you talk about development efforts, there's probably an opportunity to get some sponsorships from businesses and have some familiarity with that in another school district. So let's talk about that and let's project, why don't we meet and we'll project a budget and we'll see where we think the shortfall is. And then we got plenty of time, so let me take that forward and see what we can
I
do.
was thinking maybe they could do something at one of the home games for the football, where a large,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think we're ripe though, I think we definitely look at different options, but I think we're ripe for some sponsorship on this too. Like I've done some of these things before and you talk about thank yous and,
Yes.
you know, there's, we used to, my last district, geopolitical time, different time in the world, but we used to take students to China and they'd be in country for about 17 days and they would pay less than $1,000 to go and the trip was probably about $11,000. So. And that was all a lot of business and other donations, so I think we'll work on that. Remind me, and the three of us can meet. Let's
Are
get
they
it.
switching back to the other candy manufacturer, or was it the candy manufacturer at all that was the issue, or just?
It was the price of the candy bars and the availability of some of the,
Okay.
we had two types of candy bars available, and they were $2 each. So that was probably a little bit the feedback was that might have been a little much for a candy bar. Would you agree with that, Mr.? Okay.
Again, I like to spend a little time.
Kids have $1 in their pocket. They don't have $2 in their pocket. That's true.
Again, I want to look at some of that. This is just a personal thing, not my professional role, but my wife and I, when our kids were young, I used to, how much is the box that they were
Yes.
trying to sell? And you just like, can we just write the
Yes.
check? And, because,
Yes.
we would get I'd go to my parents' house, they're each grandparents, and they're in the freezer. And, we found, I didn't know you could keep a candy bar frozen for 5 years. I want to know, can you still eat it?
Doesn't
But I mean,
look
it's,
good.
like, it's a little
quality.
freezer burn, but it's a chocolate.
Doesn't look good.
But, no, it doesn't look good either. But, let's talk about that a little bit. I think it's time to look at some different options. I don't mind that the students have an experience and they have some, but we could also have them, and I used to do this again, last district, we used to have them help with the business relationships too and the sponsorships. So, yeah.
Thing to do.
Okay, we'll work on that.
I also noticed that the graduating senior class, their amount to transfer was less than usual, which I'm happy to see, just because when you see large amounts, you question whether they should be paying those, which I've asked about their class fees, so that's more in line, I think, than.
I'll brag on Felicia a little bit because I know she wouldn't do it, but she is going through lines and looking how things are coding. She was showing me something a couple days ago because now that the board is for a second year waived a lot of these fees, we had some things being drawn on some lines that need to be realigned, I would say. So there's a lot of good work there. When you have a district's been around for so many years, and honestly, we had predates us, but a few treasurers through, you get a lot of different accounting. We've got some deadlines in there that we need to just get off the books because they're not funded, and it just, so a lot of work being done there. But we'll have some updates, probably for finance sometime this year. That's one of our objectives, is to clean up some of those lines and efficiencies.
All right. Any other questions on the class transfers? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Boer?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes. On to your
Yep,
recommendation.
resolution 25-08-181 is approval of construction documents, phase documents for the sub-drainage system replacement portion of the athletic improvements project. I'll preface this all, I know you gotta do it first and second, but this has been written by legal counsel, so you'll know that in a minute when you hear it.
Can I get a motion?
Absolutely. I'd like to make that motion. I've talked about the baseball field for years, so.
I'll second.
Yes, please.
I'll second.
And we have a second.
Okay, so it'll be a little long, but I'll go through it as quick as I can. The superintendent recommends approval of the construction documents, phase documents, CD documents, is what they're referred to, prepared by VSWC Architects, which thereafter is referred to as the architect, for the high school baseball field sub-drainage system replacement, which is now referenced as drainage improvements, portion of the athletics project, which is the project, as the design concept presented therein only and commensurate of the subcontract bidding process by Robertson Construction Services, based on those construction documents, to allow Robertson to develop a guaranteed maximum price proposal for the drainage improvements portion of the project. The Johnstown-Monroe School District Board of Education resolves the following. One, that the board approves the construction documents for the drainage improvements portion of the project as the design concept presented therein, and we put only in there, so we know that's the only portion of that. And the second item there is the board authorizes the construction manager at risk to commence the subcontract bidding process based upon the construction documents for the drainage improvements portion of the project to allow for the development of a guaranteed maximum price proposal for that portion of the project. So long and the short of that is, if the board approves that tonight, we'll be able to move with bidding, and then we'll bring you back another proposal, but then we should be ready to start this project in October, which will be good for the baseball, because we should disrupt next year's season.
Any questions, comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Boer?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes.
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
Resolution 25-08-182 is New Story Schools contract for their services.
Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
And a second.
I'll second.
This is a resolution that asks the board to approve some special education services for the upcoming school year. We don't provide a lot of details for obvious reasons, but it's a separate out-of-district placement.
Any questions, comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
Mrs. Boer?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes.
Resolution 25-08-183, Newark City Schools District Chance Light Academy contract.
Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
Similar to the, bless you, similar to the last resolution, this is for a student with special needs, and this one is a contract out-of-district services with the Newark City Schools for the 25-26 school year.
Any questions, comments? Call the roll.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes.
Mrs. Boer?
Yes.
Resolution 25-08-184 is part-time school psychologist services contract.
Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
Second?
I'll second.
This resolution and the next one, 185, are similar. One of our school psychologists, full-time school psychologists, was hired by the Department of Education and Workforce. And school psychologists are hard to find right now, and we were able to work together, Mrs. Wagner and the team and I. And we have a couple part-time psychologists coming in, so she's been really good about coordinating schedules. So this one is a private, and the next one is with the ESC for both for this coming school, or for this school year.
Any questions, comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Boer?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes.
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
Resolution 25-08-185 is part-time school psychologist services contract. This one is with the Licking Regional Educational Service Center.
Can I get a motion?
I'll motion. I'll second.
Any questions, comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
Mrs. Boer?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes.
Resolution 25-08-186 is approval of gifted handbook for the 25-26 school year.
Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
You know, the board's heard a little bit about this, but it took a little bit of time for this to be released, so our teams looked through it and recommending approval.
Any questions, comments on this?
It looks very nice. I
Yeah.
read it. Obviously,
Thank
I
you.
always read all of them.
Yes, you do.
But they do put in a lot of effort and work to explain everything in there, and I appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes.
Mrs. Boer?
Yes.
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
Resolution 25-08-187, approval of overnight extended student trip, 8th grade trip to Washington, D.C.
Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
And a second?
Second.
I always appreciate when, you know, we talked about policies earlier. Here's an exact, you know, we're looking at this so far ahead. Chaperones, plenty of time, funding we talked about. I mean, this is the way it should be done. And this is all a result of what we did years ago with policy and procedures, and Mr. Boosberg leads that. But, you know, this is just good to see because we have plenty of time now to work on all the arrangements and do it well.
Excellent. Any questions, comments on this? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Boer?
Yes.
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes.
Resolution 25-08-188, transportation deemed impractical, and this is for the last school year, 24-25.
Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
This resolution and the next one are related. This resolution, we're asking you to deem one student impractical. This request came to us very late, so that's why it is correct that it's the past school year. The next resolution, then, if you approve that the student is impractical transport, then there's a compensation matrix or amount that's given to the parents, and that's what the next resolution is.
Familiar with this? Any questions, comments on this? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Boer?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes.
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
Resolution 25-08-189 is payment in lieu of transportation. That is for the 24-25 school year.
Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
Any questions, comments on this? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes.
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
Mrs. Boer?
Yes.
All right. Any board comments?
just
Any
want to
additional?
thank everybody that was behind the scenes. I mean, there's so many people to get all the schools open. There were rooms moved around, the new classrooms that were open. We were getting updates over the weekend, and I told this to Derek Holder, but whenever I buy something at the store and I bring it home and I start to put it together, there's usually breaks. And all it is just a table or a bookcase. You know, could be a month-long break. But they did not take breaks. They continued and they got it all done, and there were lots of desks, lots of cabinets. And I can't even imagine what they had to do to get that done. So I appreciate that, but I know that there's a lot of people that were involved, and ADM and Robertson, everybody. So I appreciate that. And then the other thing that I was wondering about, we usually use this parking lot out here for students to park for football games, usually as an overflow. Are we still using that since, do we need to put up any kind of signage as
We'll-
far as,
yeah, we'll
I don't know.
We'll definitely look at that. And then, we did add the additional parking, so that's going to help a little bit, so we've got
Which
some.
is very nice.
Yeah,
We
did you
toured
see
that
that?
yesterday,
Yeah.
and it's
See the
very nice.
additional spots, and,
But shh, don't tell
That's
anyone.
right.
Those are our spots.
oh, sorry. Well, there's some around the corner now, too. There's 13, okay, sorry.
Well, those are the ones we're talking about.
Okay,
The cat's out of the bag.
okay, okay.
I'd like to make a couple of comments about the convocation that occurred yesterday.
Yeah.
I thought it was absolutely amazing. The video that Craig put together and the performance from the Big Rig Band, everybody was excited. You look at all the teachers, all the staff that we have here, everybody is just super excited to start the new year. So hats off to everyone. And I also want to make a note of an activity that happened at the,
Oh.
there, and you're going to be upset with me. But
I did it yesterday, just
but,
okay.
but, at convocation yesterday, Ruth Ann was honored because she has spent 25 years on the Board of Education. And let me tell you, people do not really realize all the time that we spend. We get weekly reports, we get emails every day about activities here at school. We have meetings that we have to go to. And the time that, I can't imagine being here for 25 years and committing, parts of your life to this organization and have that kind of commitment to this organization. So hats off to Ruth Ann for the 25 years.
Yeah, congratulations.
Congratulations, Suzanne.
I'm gonna have to cry twice in the same meeting.
So don't hold a grudge that I put, but it is amazing, right? It really is amazing.
And I think as you, and thanks to your family, because you miss a lot of
Yes.
family functions, you miss a lot of games and a lot of activities because you're at the board.
And there's always a pressure when somebody in your family is on a school board and
Yeah.
making these decisions. They're in school, and sometimes you're favored and sometimes you're not. And sometimes your kids come home and say, Mom, why'd you do that? So,
Yeah, I appreciate
And
it.
she makes a lot of events as well. She
Yeah.
makes a lot of our extracurricular events. So she's putting travel
Oh, yeah.
time that she could be traveling or, spending with her family on the back porch or anything. So
Thank you.
we appreciate it. Well,
Well, thank you. Any other board comments? Off to you, Dr. Wagner.
Sure. Today, first day of school, went very well. High school through the elementary. I made it to every classroom, K through 8. I didn't get to the high school yet, but I will tomorrow. But, very smooth. I'll tell you, just having really more time in our systems, it's gone exceptionally well, and I'm just proud of that. I will tell you, there's always going to be a couple bumps with transportation. We have a phase system for kindergarten, so we have our entire kindergarten classes coming in 1 of 3 days. We have today, tomorrow, and then Friday. So we had buses stopping at houses where, kids are coming, kindergarten comes tomorrow or Friday, and, some things going in there. And honestly, our latest buses today, and they weren't too bad, but was at the elementary coming in because it's pictures and it's,
Every
and-
parent's taking a
yeah,
picture of their kid getting
yeah.
on the bus. It slows it
Yeah.
down, but it's worth it. I
Yeah.
mean,
it's only one time.
And there's rites of passage that occur too. Like I was at the middle school today on the floor working sixth grade on some lockers, because it's like trying to operate a locker. But also kids now more independent at the middle school and high school. So I would just say with transportation, really exceptional. Mr. Busner spent the last couple of years working with our
Yeah, I was just
contractor.
gonna say, Derek, I do wanna thank you, because, 2 years ago, we had some real hiccups in the transportation side, between you and the company, CBS, stepping up and getting that organized. Last year was minimal, and this year even less.
Yeah.
So the opting in rather than not, all those changes have been very effective, and I do appreciate your efforts on there, because I know it was a heavy lift 2 years ago, and we're seeing the dividends of that now.
Yeah, it's gone really well. I do tell people, give us a couple weeks still, because, we're.
We're adding students,
I was
people
gonna
that
say,
said
Mrs.
they're on
Lowe,
the bus.
we had 5 on Monday, 5 new families we were trying to get in just for registration. So, there's a lot of moving pieces still. So it's gonna take a good couple weeks, but boy, I mean, in the last, it's my 4th year, this is the best it's looked in 4 years. And, it'll get, and honestly, that when I say 2 weeks, every school district's like that. It takes a few weeks, but boy, really, really nice job. But other than that, I mean, teachers, great job. Convocation, I don't need to repeat a lot of it, but thank you all for being there. This is the 3rd year that, and I said this to the entire group, all 5 board members, taking your personal time, your vacation time off of work to be there. So we appreciate that. And it means a lot to the staff. It's the most exciting day for me, because it's the only time, the only day, one day a year that you get the entire school community together. That's it. You don't get it again. I mean, we have to make use of it, and it means a lot to the staff when the board's there. And then you're
Mr. Z
interacting.
brought a Wheel of Fortune.
Well, yeah, there we
That's
go.
right.
He kept it entertaining, right?
Right.
Yeah,
That was fun.
yeah, but thank you. And then I was going to talk about Ruth Ann, but thank you for, you can share. I thought I was in trouble because I did that yesterday, but I had accomplices from your family, though, so it was okay. And then as a reminder, I was wrong. It's not October. I'll get you the date. It's November, but the Ohio School Boards Association will be recognizing Ruth Ann. They actually, there's over 600 school districts in the state of Ohio, and I talked with the representative who was at our convocation, and he said there's not a long list of people with 25 years. So it's going to be on a Sunday, and I'll get you more details.
The
But-
November
16th.
16th.
I already have it in my calendar
Oh,
to be
there you
there.
go.
I
You
just
guys
looked
got
at my
it.
calendar. It's
I'll be
November
there.
16th.
So you're all gonna be there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm
Yeah.
going to be there.
I talked to Jenny about getting your family there as well, too, so, yeah.
November
So,
16th.
yep, it's on a Sunday. But anyways, thank you, Ellen, for bringing that up, and then we can share being in the doghouse together on that. But,
Not a big deal.
But the state will also recognize you, so that's good. Mr. Swag already talked about the Greater Johnstown Parks and Rec District timeline on that. I think there's a meeting coming up in Greater Johnstown Parks and Rec probably within the next week and a half or so, right? And if they accept and modification to their bylaws from what Monroe Township voted on, then we'll be bringing something back to the Board of Education and the city. There's a time period when you change the bylaws, so that's usually about 30 days, but there's some processes we can work through. When it's all said and done, I think that as long as everyone agrees, at least in front of our board, they'll be asked to vote in that first meeting in October at the latest, and then we would be done with everything with Greater Johnstown Parks and Rec and get to the next step, so, okay. And then last, I do want to, two things. One, we have our first home football game week from Friday, and that is Military Appreciation, so we'll have that. That's always exciting, great for the community. And then on the agenda, on my notes here, I had put our next board meeting is the 25th, and we have that scheduled as a work session, but I was wondering if we're going to need that as a regular meeting. I don't think we'll need it as a regular meeting. I think we can keep it as a work session so we can talk about and any of our open projects. Our next board meeting after that is September 8th. That is a regular meeting. We'll have some voting for that one. So the reason why I've been looking at the 25th is because I didn't know to keep on our timelines for these building projects if I needed to vote on the 25th. I don't think we will, but it's going to take a lot of committee work to get there. And then we'll have, I'll be asking you for at least 1 or 2 votes probably on the building projects and facilities on the 8th of September. So, and that's all I have for my update.
All right, anything else? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion.
And a second.
I'll second.
No one wants to leave, I guess.
Wow.
Ruth Ann,
I just wanted to see if you were alive at the end
I'm
of the
still
day.
alive, Ruth Ann.
With a motion and a second, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes.
Mrs. Boer?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned, 6:47 PM. Have a good evening.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, before you run away, keep